I especially like the part where Melania said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." And a bunch of terrorist guys with guns. I like that part. And then she said, "Ask not what your..." Yeah. Oh, whoa. Woo, baby, come on. Cool 98. I always do that. It's weird. I get on the radio. I'm so used to being on the other station down the hall. Anyway, it's Super Talk 1270, and I like being here. I like being on Super Talk 1270 because I like to get to talk about the burning issues of the day. All right, Super Talk 1270, Jim Walsh on your, not your 10 in a row station. Yeah, 10 topics. 10 topics in a row every hour. 10 topics, yes. If we were the religious station, I guess we'd be your 10 Commandments station. 10 Commandments in a row every hour. Right. God, there's so much to talk about. Have you ever done anything really, really stupid to the point where you didn't think you could tolerate your own stupidity? I did, and it happened just last week. And I want to talk about this. I want to hear from you. Let's kind of commiserate on this because I can't be the only adult human being on the planet who has done something this incredibly stupid. You know, for a guy of my supposed intelligence, I'm capable of some pretty stupid stuff. So I'm going to run this by you here. By the way, the number here is 663-1270. Jim Walsh on Super Talk 1270 and supertalk1270.com. Kind of a weird day. It's getting hot. Hot under the collar. We're having a heat wave. I blew up my car. Yeah, last week. Yeah, I know this has nothing to do with the Republican convention. I'm just saying Yeah, you know, despite the political stuff, life goes on. That's the way I see it. No matter who is in the White House, no matter which fat, pasty, Caucasian butt is filling that chair behind the desk in the Oval Office, life pretty much goes on as usual for the rest of us. That's a great thing about this country. No matter which one of these goobers we actually elect, you know, things of the rest of us are pretty much going to go on like they have been. Kind of sucky, but hey. I blew up my car last week. Well, my wife insists on taking part of the blame for it, but I really can't blame her much at all. I kind of feel like it was my responsibility, not because I'm the guy, but because I'm the one who uses the car most of the time. In a nutshell, I forgot to check the oil for like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Then one day I'm driving along and I hear knock, 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 knock. And I'm thinking, oh, little Richard, keep it knocking, but you can't come in. No, it was the car knocking away. So I pulled up. I was actually familiar with the sound. I knew what it meant. So I pulled up my local loaf and jug, got some oil, got some old 5W30. Well, first I checked the oil. I tried to check the oil, put the dipstick in, pulled it out. I couldn't see anything on the dipstick. I'm thinking something's wrong here. Either the oil is really super low or for some reason I'm not doing this right. Well, I'd done it before, so I said, well, I probably wouldn't kill it to put a quart in. So I put a quart in, put it in, nothing. I put another quart in, put it in, nothing. I'm thinking, I better have somebody look at this. And I drove over to the guy who does all my car work. I can't mention him, but he's a guy in Bismarck, a local guy, really good. I trust him a lot. Those of you who remember me on the old station, you remember the guy I used to have on a kind of a semi-regular basis. We used to talk about car stuff. Yeah, that's the guy. I just can't mention him by name here because he's not buying the time. Sorry. I guess if you're looking for a good mechanic, you know, just email me or call me and I'll give it to you off the air. So anyway, I took it to the guy and he said, well, let's take a look. He opens it up. He says, well, here's your problem. You don't have any oil in the damn thing. How much? You've got 2 quarts of oil, 2.5 quarts of oil. I thought, when I said, well, I just put 2 quarts in. And the guy looked at me like I had just insulted his mother. You mean to tell me you're driving around with half a quart of oil in a car with 100,000 miles on it? All of a sudden, I'm back in fourth grade. My dog ate my homework. That's kind of how I felt. Yeah. And he said, well, there's your problem. You pretty much burned out your engine. He said, let's check it. He said, we got to check this. And he stuck the, he put the dipstick in, he pulled it out. He said, uh-huh. And he looked at me and he said, you're screwed. You're boned. Why? Well, you see these little flecks on the dipstick? That's little pieces of the engine that are coming off. You've got a matter of days before this thing just completely dies on you. So that's how I destroyed my car. The good news was I found a place where I could get a car real super cheap. Nice car that was fixed up. I had a lot of mileage on it, but it was maintained very well. I'm just going to have to be, the car's got like 200,000 miles on it, but I got it, for like $1,200, which I paid up front, so I own the car outright, and it's a stopgap. It'll do for the time being until we get our ducks in a row financially. I don't want to get into that in great detail, but the bottom line is, I really pooed the scrooch on this one, if you catch my drift. If you have ever done something similar, please, I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to think that I'm not the last human being on the face of the earth capable of doing something this incredibly stupid. I've done some stupid stuff in my life, but that probably takes the cake. Number here, 663-1200. It's True Confessions on the radio. Coming up, I do want to touch upon a couple of aspects of the big story of the day, I guess, is the Melania, the Trump speech last night, and the question of plagiarism, as in plagiarize, let no one else's work evade your eyes. Remember why the good Lord made your eyes, so don't shade your eyes, but plagiarize, plagiarize, plagiarize. Only always be careful to call it research. It's a little song I remember from my high school days. Now, I know something about plagiarism, having learned a lot about it as a grad student. I have a couple of thoughts on that. I have a couple of thoughts as well on the, there was a story that came out this week about Mr. Pence, the guy that Trump has on the ticket to run as his vice president, or vice presidential hopeful, I should say. And we're going to get to all that in just a couple of bits. Just a couple of minutes here, and your comments are welcome as well. Number here, 663-1270. You can also comment online at supertalk1270.com. Be right back.
Right now, 81.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Supertalk 1270.
I am never forget the day I first meet the great Lobachevsky. In one word, he told me the secret of success in mathematics. Plagiarize. Plagiarize. Let no one else's work evade your eyes. Remember why the good Lord made your eyes, so don't shade your eyes, but plagiarize, plagiarize, plagiarize. Only be sure always to call it, please, research.
Ah, yes, the great Lobachevsky, Nikolai Ivanovich Lobachevsky is his name. Hi, Nikolai Ivanovich. Hi. Supertalk 1270, supertalk1270.com. Jim Walsh, it's Bizman Weekly. And by the way, we're going to be back on this coming Thursday with a special Thursday edition of the Tuesday program. See, they both have T's at the beginning. That's how I make it work. But I'll be talking with you about some of the hot steaming issues. And the emphasis being on the hot and steaming part, especially this week. It's going to be humid, too. Oh, man, as Donald Trump would say, the humidity of it all. Yes. We got some of that hot air coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. And we're going to be dealing with this pretty much through the end of the week. You have been advised. Hope your air conditioner is up to speed. Anyway. Super Talk 1270. Talk a little bit about the Melania thing. I have a couple of thoughts on that, and then your comments. 663-1270. You know, everybody steals from everybody in this day and age, and it's nothing new, really. Any speech you've ever heard, regardless of how good it is, but even the good speeches, hell, especially the good speeches, have all been lifted in some version or another from somewhere else. Remember the Kennedy speech? Ask not what y'all Well, that was taken from an old speech by a president named Warren G. Harding. He said it, the original version was like 50 years before Kennedy. And, of course, Harding's version was not nearly as compelling. It was very... Let me see if I can remember. I can give you the general feel of the way Harding described it. He said, I do believe it would be very much in the best interest of the country at large if the citizenry of said country would spend less time asking how the country could benefit their own interest and more with the... Well, you get the basic idea, right? That's the basic idea. And he had that kind of, some people just don't have the knack for getting a message across. Harding was one of those guys. But compare that, what I just said, with the way Kennedy put it. He boiled it down right to its essence, rendered that baby down, got the message across. Ask not what y'all conscience. Some people have a knack for that, some don't. But the main point here is that everybody steals from everybody, at least in the world of politics. But at least try to make it your own. You know what I mean? I mean, if Kennedy had tried to do it the way Harding had did it, it would have fallen flat for a lot of reasons. But the point is, he made it into something uniquely his own. Now, whoever wrote this speech for Mrs. Trump last night, I'm assuming that she had some help there, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. You would think that whoever wrote the speech for her would at least be aware of that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which leads me to a much more general point. What really bothers me about the whole Trump thing is this guy, Trump, he's not much of a reader, and he kind of brags about that. Well, there's a history of anti-intellectualism in this country. But the bottom line is, I think we all want somebody in that office who does, at the end of the day, does have some intellectual heft, something going on in the old noodle, right? Some gravitas, as they say. And it's all well and good to brag about how you're not one of the pointy-headed intellectuals. But the bottom line is, do you really want somebody who thinks it's cool to be uneducated? That's always bothered me. That, to me, is a far greater threat to the society than any kind of... It's like a few years ago when the Britney Spears Madonna thing happened. Not a big deal. It was to some people. But remember Britney kissing Madonna, and some people thought, this Harvard society is going... Well, the thing about Britney Spears that bothers me far more than her kissing Madonna is the fact that Britney Spears is the single biggest selling artist to ever come from Louisiana. Not Louis Armstrong, not Fats Domino. No, Britney Spears. What does that tell you? It tells you the American public has no taste in music. But it also tells you that we have a real problem in this country with people who think it's cool to be stupid. And they've always been out there, but unfortunately with the mass media and social media, your social media websites, it seems to have multiplied the whole thing tenfold. That's what bothers me about something like the, Mrs. Trump. Now, on the subject of people saying things, I'm going to inject one other thought here regarding the Trump ticket, and then I'm going to move on. because I really, if you listen to my show on a regular basis, if you've heard any of my show, I'm not really a political person. I prefer to defer to Mr. Heitkamp on all that. Joel does a great job. He's much more of a political guy than I'll ever be. Plus, he has the expertise. He comes from a family of politicians. His sister. His sister is the senator. Joel knows his politics. He certainly knows North Dakota politics. He knows where the bodies are buried. Generally, I defer to Joel on these things, but I did have one tiny thought, which I'm going to pass along regarding Mr. Pence, the governor of Indiana, the running mate for Donald Trump. There was a bit of a flap over something he said years ago. Trying to remember what it was. I don't even remember what it was specifically he said, but a lot of people thought it was pretty outrageous. And I looked at the quote, and it was outrageous, except for one fact. He said it when he was working as a radio talk show host. Now, I may not be a big fan of the Trump ticket, but let's be fair about this. If you're working as a talk show host, you're doing an act. It's showbiz. You're supposed to say things that will kind of get a rise out of people. The whole idea behind this job is to get people to react, either to call up and tell you you're full of beans, or at least to kind of emotionally react to what they're hearing. And from what I've heard, that's exactly what he did in this case. And I don't really think it's fair to take that and hold it against him as a politician. You can debate the wisdom of having a guy with those credentials running for office, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. The point is, you can't hold against Mike Pence what he said as a radio talk show host any more than you could say hold something against George Clooney because of something he said as a character in one of his movies. Remember a few years ago, there was a big flap about some feminist author who allegedly said that all men are rapists and that's all they are. Well, what you don't hear is that she didn't actually say it. Well, she did say it, but she wrote it as a character. It was a character in a novel that she wrote that said that. Now, she may or may not believe that. Was it McKinnon, Catherine McKinnon? I believe so. Now, Ms. McKinnon may actually believe that, or she may not. But is it really fair to cite what she says in a novel, words coming out of the mouth of a fictional character? Is it really fair to attribute that directly to the author without something a little more substantial to back it up? Well, no, it's not. And I don't think it's fair to hold this against Mike Pence because of something he said when he was basically doing a job where the job was basically to say outrageous crap. He was just doing what he was supposed to do. It would be like if, if Howard Stern ran for president. Oh, now, Howard may or may not be qualified for the position. My guess is he probably isn't, and he probably wouldn't be interested in the job anyway. But are you going to take everything Howard said on the air and hold that against him? No, it's shtick. It's showbiz. You can't hold that against him. Ronald Reagan, some of his characters probably said things that if they actually came out of Ronnie's mouth, he wouldn't have gotten the support he got. So let's put that in perspective and move on, please. Thank you. You're welcome. Super Talk 1270, supertalk1270.com. More conversation, your calls coming up.
Right now, 81.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
Arguably the greatest pool party record ever made. Well, that along with their follow-up song called Quicksand. Same record, basically. Playing back-to-back is great. Yes, Martha and the VDs. Air conditioned for the coolest sound in town. All right, Supertalk 1270, supertalk1270.com, and Jim Walsh here to help you beat the heat this afternoon. We've been talking about the whole plagiarism thing, and I got some great stories here about famous figures. You know, the point I'm making is everybody rips everybody off, but you got to at least try to make it your own. You know what I mean? By the way, number here is 663-1270. I did find the quote, the one that Kennedy lifted from for the ask not what your country can. Okay. The quote has been attributed to a number of people, including Oliver Wendell Holmes and President Warren G. Harding, one of the most unmemorable people ever to occupy the Oval Office. Now, President Harding told the Republican convention in 1916, here's the quote, "We must have a citizenship less concerned about what the government can do for it and more anxious about what it can do for the nation." Now, okay, it wasn't as bad as I remembered, but obviously thoroughly unmemorable. But Kennedy was a guy. Kennedy was not the most original thinking guy on the planet, but he did have that knack for taking things and making them his own. He at least did that much with it. Now, nobody's expecting Melania Trump to be a great orator, especially not this early on. If he gets elected, if he gets in and she becomes first lady, you would expect she would do a little better after a few years, a little bit of seasoning there. You know, everybody who's new to the job, you don't expect that much out of them. You know, the bar is the bar's not that low. But you would think that whoever they hired to write the speech for the lady, you would think that they would know how to, put words together and at least make them sound like she might have actually thought to say it. You see what I mean? I mean, have our expectations gotten so low in this country that we don't even worry about stuff like this? I'm not sure that's a good thing. 663-1270. Yeah, you can talk about who she stole it from. Yeah, she cribbed it from Obama. And I heard the Michelle Obama speech, and yeah, there's some similarities. Yeah, there's some spots where it looks like it was basically cut and paste. And it wasn't that great a speech to begin with. And now they're saying Obama, Michelle Obama, she lifted it from somebody else, Elizabeth Dole or whoever. None of these people are people. You know, it's like a few years ago when somebody tried to sue Fleetwood Mac for plagiarism, claiming that they ripped off the song Sarah. You know, the Stevie Nicks song, Sarah, from that weird Fleetwood Mac album, the one where they had the marching bands and all that. Well, remember the song Sarah? Wait a minute, baby. Well, somebody claimed that there was a line in the song that Stevie Nicks had actually stolen from somebody else. The line was, "Drowning in a Sea of Love." Whoa! How original! No way anybody could have ever come up with that on their own. Seriously, somebody sued Stevie Nicks for lifting the line, "Drowning in a Sea of Love." When you kind of have to go back to at least the 50s for "Come with me, my love, to the sea of love. I want to tell you how much I love you." Wouldn't you at least have to go back to that era if you're going to talk about people lifting lines from? That's ridiculous. It'd be like somebody claiming that, she stole my line from a song. It was 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Yeah, I wrote that, and she stole it from me. Jeez. Jiminy Christmas. Well, anyway, onward and upward here. I wonder if they found any interesting Pokemon characters at the Republican convention. Because you just know there are people walking around, especially some of them younger delegates. And they're walking around with their iPhones looking for them Pokemons. You just know it. That was a great line I came up with. I don't come up with many good lines, but I was kind of proud of this one. A line, things overheard at the Republican convention. Hey, I got me a Skyther. Oh, sorry, Senator McConnell. I didn't realize it was. I'll send that one to Letterman. Oh, he retired. Okay, never mind. We'll send that to Colbert. From what I hear, he could use the material. All right. Got a whole bunch of Pokemon stories. South Jersey teen jumped while playing Pokemon Go. This is terrible. This is from New Jersey, obviously. Some kid who took the long way to his friend's house so he could catch more Pokemon on the go. But his long walk turned into an attack. Basically, he got mugged. He's walking along, playing the game, and somebody jumped him and beat him up. And that's not a joke. That's not funny. That's kind of sad, actually. Pokemon Go players arrested after drug overdose in Putnam. Yeah, Pokemon and heroin. Like a horse and carriage, right? 3 people were arrested on drug charges after a man overdosed. This happened in Connecticut. A man overdosed, and police said the suspects told officers they were in town to play Pokemon Go. You actually have to go to another town to play Pokemon Go. And yeah, don't forget to bring the heroin. Right. And one from Oregon. A man accused of breaking into a shed last week left a note. Very telling note here. The break-in was reported at a Forest Grove storage shed last week. Police tell the news. The news team, the suspect left behind a note on the whiteboard saying, "I broke in for the Pokemon." Well, there you go. The imminent demise of our culture at hand. No, everybody just be cool. Everybody just lighten up with the Pokemon thing, okay? I mean, it's fine. I have no problem with it. I was talking with Marlo Anderson, our tech guy, about this yesterday, and he made a good point. He said, it's kind of a good thing that we have a game like this that encourages people, kids, whatever, to at least get up and move around a little bit. Because with this Pokemon thing, you actually have to go out and walk around. You got to get out and move around. You got to get on your feet and kind of, as opposed to just sitting there in front of the PC or the TV, with your clicker all day. Which I was always told if you do that too much, you go blind, but that's a whole other story. But at least with this, people are getting up and moving around. I would think that at least that aspect of it would be considered a healthy thing. But no, we have a lot of what I call the anti-fun squad out there who just think it's a terrible thing. Probably the stupidest thing I've read. Some left-wing rag from some university philosophy department where they tried to explain how Pokemon is the latest example of capitalist exploitation. How the people are being led around by the nose by the bourgeoisie. Oh, shut up. Seriously, zip it. When the problem comes along, you must zip it. Zip it. Zip it good. I didn't hear about that crap. Oh, and one other, I do have a local angle on this. You want to know the most popular Pokemon in North Dakota? Just in case you might have been wondering. Just in case you might be curious. The most sought-after Pokemon in North Dakota is the Pokemon called Skyther. Skyther is... what is Skyther? Well, Skyther is green. I can tell you that much. I saw the picture on the website. By the way, all these stories, we have a bunch of these stories up and running along with the Trump story up at the website, supertalk1270.com. Skyther is green. It kind of looks to me like a cross between a pterodactyl and a praying mantis. All right, that's Skyther. It's one of the Pokemon guys, one of the Pokemon characters. And Skyther is apparently the one that everybody's looking for around here. In North Dakota, it's Skyther. And North Dakota is actually the only state where so many people are frantically hunting down Skyther. Pikachu, on the other hand, that's the little yellow cutesy one, right? Pikachu is being searched for the most in 6 different states, including Delaware, Rhode Island. Well, so if you find Skyther in North Dakota, apparently you're doing pretty well. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Oh, boy. My goodness. Supertalk 1270, supertalk1270.com. Jim Walsh, I'd love to hear from you. Number 663-1270. More conversation and more of your calls coming up in just a bit.
Right now, 82.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Supertalk 1270.
Getting ready for a hot one. Some Beach Baby bikini wearing music.
Do you remember back in old LA? Oh, when everybody drove a Chevrolet. Oh, whatever happened to the boy next door? The suntan crew cut all American mail. Remember dancing at the high school hop? Oh, dress I ruined with the soda pop. Oh, I didn't recognize the girl next door. With beat up sneakers and the ponytail. Beach baby, give me your hand.
I got to be honest with you. I like living here. I like my adopted hometown, Bismarck, North Dakota. I found a wife here. I got an education here. I've met many wonderful friends in the time I've been here, the last 15 years or so. But I do miss the ocean. There are mornings I wake up and I really wish I could hear the lap of the ocean, you know. Whoosh. Sometimes. Every couple of years I get back to the East Coast and get a little bit of that, and I bring it back with me. Memories. Supertalk 1270, supertalk1270.com, and Jim Walsh talking about the plagiarism story today, Mrs. Trump's speech, which it was a classic case of, well, if it's not a total train wreck, we'll call it a success. And, I mean, nobody was expecting that it was going to be something that would knock everybody's socks off, and it wasn't. But there was this issue of aspects that – it was this issue of one or two paragraphs that sounded like they were lifted from the Michelle Obama speech of 2008. And I got a note here from an acquaintance of mine who says the thing about Melania's plagiarism – or her writer's plagiarism seems to be about a couple of things. Once again, you have people thinking they can get away with something in plain sight, which is brazen and arrogant, and may be correct since, of course, the Trump apologists will excuse anything. I mean, they bring up Joe Biden, and yeah, that's true. But it's also about how in this era plagiarism is so rampant and attitudes toward it are so cavalier that it's depressing. And he goes on to talk about he caught somebody plagiarizing and they got away with it because nobody really cared about it, the intellectual property theft. He said, somebody ripped me off. They wrote something, it was not attributed, and nobody cared. Well, yeah, that's unfortunate. Now, there are still, of course, pockets in our society where it's still a big deal, like academia. Because the key there is not to be caught plagiarizing. But no, seriously, I learned a lot about that as a grad student. Believe me. If you're going to steal, do it right. And by the way, I'm in a line of work, radio, where people steal all the time. You're constantly, all the jokes and the quips you hear from people on the radio. And bear in mind, we got to come up with a lot of material because every day it's got to sound new and fresh. So radio people steal a lot of stuff, especially from each other. Used to be that you could take the Johnny Carson monologue and cut it up and use it the next morning. Just and every time you played a record, use one joke from the speech and just used to be able to get away with that. Not anymore. Not since everything in the world is on the internet. Not since everybody knows what everybody's saying at any given time. It's raised the bar a little bit. But I like to think it makes us better people. I like to think that. But all right, what have we got going on here? I got a couple of. Somebody was asking about the plagiarizing song I played earlier. Let me find that here. Let me pull it up. This is Tom Lehrer. Let's see here if I can pull it up. This is from a little song by Professor Tom Lehrer. He was a mathematics professor at Harvard. I think he's still living. He retired a couple of years ago. And he wrote this song about the It was kind of a tribute to plagiarizing. And the character, Nikolai Ivanovich Lobachevsky, who was a legendary mathematician, came out of Russia. And this was his tribute. Tom Lehrer, who himself taught math at Harvard.
Who made me the genius I am today? Nikolai Ivanovich Lobachevsky is his name.
Hey!
Hey!
Thank you. Super Talk 1270, Jim Walsh, Bizman Weekly, winding down here. Let's talk about moob jobs. A moob job is a boob job for men. And I can't believe this. This is from the London Daily Mail. Hell. Inquiries about male breast reduction surgery soar by 65% in a year's time. Moobs, or man boobs, officially known as words as long as your arm. I'm not going to try. It affects up to 40% of men. Now, obviously, people are tying it in with obesity. Most inquiries are from men aged 18 to 34, specifically aged 25 to 34, can be caused by the imbalance of hormones like estrogen and testosterone. In women, on the other hand, the demand has been highest for tummy tucks and weight loss surgery. So we live in an era where men are getting boob jobs. Dig yourselves in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. More and more body-conscious males are inquiring about operations to inquiries to treat moobs. I think we got the essence of this one. Let me scroll down here. See if there's oh God, there's a picture. You do not want to see this. Imbalance of sexual hormones. Talks about the surgery, how much the surgery cost. Oh, there's a little video from YouTube that shows how they do it. Okay, I think I've seen enough of that. Let's slide on up here. A picture from the Republican convention of white elevators. Okay. Here's one of my favorite buttheads. This Congressman Steve King from, I think he's from Iowa. Yeah, what is it with Iowa? Iowa used to be known for being really left-wing populist. Remember Tom Harkin, Democratic senator who never met a government boondoggle he didn't like? Well, now they seem to have swung to the other lunatic extreme. You've got social conservatives like this Steve King guy, no relation to the author, apparently. Here's what he says about white people contributing more to civilization than any other category or subgroup of people. Oh, really now? The comments, let me find it here. Oh, here we are. This whole white people business does get a little tired, Charlie, he said. I'd ask you to go back through history and figure out where have these contributions been made by these other categories of people you're talking about. Where did any other subgroup of people contribute more to civilization? Chris Hayes says, than white people? And he says, well, then Western. And then he kind of hedges. Well, Western civilization, but and Christianity. And basically what he's saying is, it's not enough for us to pander to the white people. We're going to pander to the white Christians of the world. Okay? Thank you. By the way, algebra was invented by Muslims. It was reintroduced. Much of the great classics of the Greek era were reintroduced to the world by the Muslim community. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. Back again Thursday. Thanks for listening. Stay cool. Super Talk 1270, supertalk1270.com. Brandmeier coming up.